Welcome to the 700 Club. Let's go over to the CBN newsroom for today's top stories.
Thanks, Gordon. Cocaine in the White House. The Secret Service confirms they found a tiny bag of the white powder in the West Wing over the weekend. Agents are now on the hunt for who left it there, and lawmakers have some questions of their own. George Thomas reports.
Secret Service agents are now poring over visitors' logs and surveillance camera video to identify who brought a pouch of cocaine to the West Wing of the White House.
Where this was discovered is a heavily traveled area.
Law enforcement officials said the cocaine was discovered in an area where visitors who are not accredited to visit the White House on a regular basis place phones and other personal belongings before going on tours of the facility.
We do have West Wing tours that occur here on campus. They happen in this particular past couple of days. They happen on Friday, they happen on Saturday and Sunday.
We have a result. We have a yellow bar stating cocaine hydrochloride.
The powder was found in a small clear plastic bag Sunday evening during a routine sweep of the West Wing, which sits adjacent to the private residence of the president and close to the Oval Office.
Officials are combing through security footage. They're looking at who might have dropped this unintentionally or how it ended up in the White House in the first place.
Both the president and first lady, including son Hunter and other family members, left Friday for 4th of July celebrations and were not on the grounds when the substance was found. Authorities had to briefly shut down the White House. One law enforcement official telling Politico that it's unlikely we'll know who brought the cocaine to the White House, given that it was found in a highly frequented area of the West Wing.
We have confidence that the Secret Service is going to get to the bottom of this.
During a meeting with Sweden's Prime Minister, President Biden was pressed on how the cocaine got into the White House, but didn't respond. Republican Senator Tom Cotton, though, wants answers. He wrote a letter to the Secret Service asking how the cocaine managed to slip past authorities. If the White House complex is not secure, Congress needs to know the details, as well as your plan to correct any security flaws, the senator wrote in a 2-page letter. The Arkansas senator also wants to know how many times illegal drugs were found at the White House in the last 5 years. George Thomas, CBN News.
Turning now to the deadly violence in cities across the nation around the 4th of July holiday. Police report 17 mass shootings with 18 people dead and more than 100 injured over a 4-day period. In Philadelphia, an accused shooter charged with 5 counts of murder. Police say Kim Brady Carricker opened fire with an assault rifle and a handgun over an area of several blocks Monday night. This surveillance video appears to show a person firing a weapon into a street.
This office is 100% committed to the vigorous prosecution of this mass killer.
I still can't believe that my brother is gone. He was gorgeous inside and out. I'm going to miss that beautiful smile. I really am.
In Shreveport, Louisiana, police are looking for a suspect in a shooting at a block party where 4 people died and 7 were injured. A number of cities, including Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Boston, also experiencing mass shootings in recent days. Looking overseas, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is in China today. Her arrival in Beijing kicks off a 4-day visit with Chinese officials. The trip is seen as an effort to improve relations that are strained by disagreements over security, trade, and other issues. She also plans to challenge China's support of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The trip follows last month's visit by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. As of now, there are no plans for her to meet China's President Xi Jinping. The U.S. military is calling out Russia for reckless behavior after Russian fighter jets came dangerously close to American drones over Syria. The Air Force released this video. They say it shows Russian jets harassing the drones as they flew a mission against the terror group ISIS. The Russians dropping flares in the path of the drones, forcing them to maneuver for safety. Another jet kicked in its afterburners, making it difficult to safely operate the unmanned aircraft. The Air Force claims dozens of similar incidents by the Russians in recent months and is calling on them to adhere to professional standards. A military confrontation in the Gulf of Oman Wednesday as the U.S. Navy intervened in an Iranian threat against 2 oil tankers that happened near the strategic Strait of Hormuz. This video released by the Pentagon apparently shows an Iranian ship menacing one of the tankers in international waters. At one point, allegedly opening fire, striking the ship in several areas. The U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet sent a guided missile destroyer to the scene, and the Iranian vessel fled. Turning now to Israel, where for a number of ultra-Orthodox Jews publicly confronted Christians and Messianic believers. It happened outside a worship event in Jerusalem. As CBN's Julie Stahl reports, the hostility led to physical attacks.
Inside the King of Kings congregation, some 800 people recently attended 2 concerts of Hebrew worship songs.
It was a night of worship and singing through the scriptures, singing through the Psalms. Everyone was invited, and we were very upfront about what this event was. That was important to us, that all of the people attending knew exactly what they were coming to through the purchase of tickets well before the event.
But outside, something else was going on.
So as the worshipers were trying to come in, the protesters would block them. They would get in their way. They would physically put their hands on them, put their body on them.
Senior pastor Chad Holland told CBN News protesters verbally and physically attacked those trying to attend the concert sponsored by the Messianic Jewish Alliance of Israel.
Several people that got harmed, they got accosted. We were being told of several people who got hurt. In addition to that, there was quite a loud noise-making group, and eventually this group of protesters, and we might even say violent protesters, grew to between 80 and 100 people.
While Holland commended police for bringing order, he felt more could have been done to prevent the situation.
We want to say thank you to the police. They did such a good job. They were so brave and courageous. All we would want is for the police to take it more seriously early on, to send more police early so we could avoid this whole event altogether.
One of Jerusalem's deputy mayors, Aryeh King, stood behind and supported the protesters, which included many teenagers and young men. Others cheered them on from above.
It's people who have a very warped view of what the Christian community is. They feel that most of the Christians in Jerusalem are there missionizing young Jews. I've tried to explain to them many times that that's not the case.
Another Jerusalem deputy mayor, Fleur Hassan Nahum, told CBN News she and other leaders tried to convince King what he was doing was wrong.
It was very negative, incendiary. The mayor condemned it, half the city council condemned it, and told him to his face that all he was doing is inciting hatred.
While she says the group is small, Hassan Nahum is still concerned about the violence against Christians.
Well, I would like to think that we do our utmost to protect all minorities. I've been involved in a campaign to get rabbis to condemn any type of violence or protests. So it's not the mainstream, and it's not even the mainstream Orthodox, and it's not even the mainstream national religious. It's a small marginal group, a few bad apples that ruin the basket.
Phaedra Shapiro, who heads the Israel Center for Jewish-Christian Relations, sees it as democracy in action.
It was clear that the police were protecting the rights of concertgoers. I mean, this is still a democratic country, and that includes the democratic right to protest, so long as it doesn't harm law and order.
On the other hand, she's concerned about the growing dispute.
There is a growing polarization in Israel, and that really has nothing much to do with Jews and Christians, and everything to do with politics and a certain sector that feels emboldened to act in increasingly undemocratic and sometimes brutal ways.
While Israelis may be sensitive to the idea of missionary activity, Shapiro believes those who would protest a Christian event are relatively few. She also feels Israelis should turn their energies elsewhere.
I think that our mission as Jews in Israel, it seems to me, needs to be building a vibrant Jewish identity among our people and not protesting a music concert.
Holland emphasized that there was no intent to evangelize. He says what happened exposed people's hearts.
Worshippers were coming for one heart of love for God, love for one another, and the protesters had a different heart motive, and they didn't seem to care if someone was a man, a woman, a grown person, a child, an elderly person, or a baby. They didn't seem to care. They were going to promote this violence, make this noise, and again, we believe they were just grossly misinformed about what the whole event was.
The musical evening has been an event for years. Holland says he hopes next time they can come up with a way to make it just that. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.